You're listening to Inside Content, the TV industry podcast. This show is brought to you by 3Vision, a global TV industry consultancy specializing in content acquisition, strategy, research, and business development. Each episode, we give you VIP access to the views and experiences of senior TV executives and discuss the latest TV industry trends and insights.
Hello, and welcome back to this new season of Inside Content. I'm Peyton Lombardo, Senior Manager at 3Vision, and today I'm joined by Patrick Courtney, Chief Business Officer at Fuse Media, a global entertainment company known for its multicultural programming. In our conversation, Patrick shares how Fuse Media has evolved from its roots in pay TV into a modern media operation with 7 FAST channels and a growing SVOD footprint. We get into the risks and rewards of ad-supported models, how they're building scale through the Culture Collective, and why creators might be key to the next wave of original content.
Introducing Video Markets Tracker from 3Vision, your go-to source for global TV data. We offer regularly updated regional and global reports covering pay TV, SVOD, AVOD, and FAST across Africa, MENA, the Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Make smarter decisions with insights you can trust. Learn more at 3vision.tv. Now, on to the episode.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us on the Inside Content podcast. I just wanted to start out by asking you, what is your role and responsibilities as the Chief Business Officer at Fuse?
Yeah. So Fuse Media is a global entertainment company. We're diverse owned. We have 2 pay TV networks, FAST channels, a subscription business. Been in business for 20 plus years. My job is to kind of oversee the strategy and the growth of the business and kind of help steer where the company is going in order to, eventually evolve into a modern media company, whatever that definition means. And so that tends to be a lot of the kind of the growth areas of the company, FAST, SVOD, and then emerging areas, commerce events, things like that we typically partner with other companies on.
Got it. That makes sense. And jumping into FAST, how many FAST channels do you currently operate and in which territories?
We have 7 FAST channels, and those are both owned and operated and partner channels that we operate, but we work in partnership with. Primarily the U.S. We have a little bit of distribution in Mexico and Canada and here and there in Western Europe, but our primary business is the U.S.
Got it. And how many SVOD services do you have?
We have the one SVOD service, Fuse Plus, that's distributed as a direct-to-consumer, as well as the reseller environments on Amazon, Roku, things like that. And then we have a fair amount of international distribution with Fuse Plus. SVOD has been more of a priority for us as far as international is concerned. So we have some distribution with telcos in the Philippines and India and places like that.
Got it. Interesting. So FAST has been an early adopter, or Fuse has been an early adopter in FAST. What has been the most surprising thing that you've learned from bringing a pay TV network into an ad-supported space?
So we have our 2 pay TV networks. What we had to do, because pay TV is a very different business than what FAST, was to create new networks. So all of the networks that we own and operate today are different from the pay TV networks that we have on that side of the business. I would say the most interesting thing, having launched our first channel in 2018 to where we are now, is just how much it's become like pay TV. And we took that point of view when we started in pay TV. It was like, okay, what can we take from our learnings in pay TV and having all of that competency and muscle in that business and apply it to FAST, and it has been advantageous for us. And that's from the programming and scheduling teams to marketing and our post operations teams. We have a business that we've been doing for a very long time, and successfully so, and have applied those same skill sets to FAST, and that has been we've done it with a lot of success. I'd say the other thing, not necessarily surprising, but I think has become more of an eye opener for a lot of folks is that FAST is not pay TV, and that it's a one-legged stool. It's one revenue stream. Pay TV, why it's been such a good business for as long as it has, is it's a dual revenue stream business. You have your ads and you have the carriage fees. You have the affiliate piece. But FAST, it's just one. It's just the one ad or just the one revenue stream with advertising. So you're kind of more exposed to market fluctuations. If the ad market is up, you're doing great. If the ad market is down, you're not doing as great. And in periods of time, especially like with FAST, where you've seen this like pretty meteoric rise in viewership, and then suddenly now everyone's turning on the advertising for that, you get this a significant amount of supply. The demand, like the money follows the viewership. So it's always a little bit lagging. And we're at this period where the supply is outpacing the demand, and it's leaving a lot of folks in FAST feeling a little underwhelmed and even a little bit at risk with their FAST channels because they're not making as much money as they expected to, given those dynamics. And so you're just more exposed in that way. So you have to right size your operation to make sure that you're profitable.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's one of the questions I was going to ask is, as this market matures, is kind of what is Fuse doing to evolve its monetization strategy? Is there certain things that you can do, as you just talked about, like the supply and demand? Is there certain things that help mitigate some of these risks that have developed in the FAST space?
Yeah, I mean, we've done as much as we can to de-risk things in various areas. So one is we have 7 owned and operated FAST channels. That's in part by design. We're not a sort of SaaS-based model where we can manage as many channels as we can take on, and we're also being very specific and curated about who we work with and how it benefits our benefits our ad business. Does it work with our current ad business? Does it help us? And so that's been, going through the lens, which we did in pay TV, which we have done in pay TV, of being a Latino-owned business and reaching a multicultural audience in pay TV. We've made sure to curate and build a business that mimics that or models that in FAST. So all of our networks are multicultural networks that reach diverse, reach diverse audiences, sometimes specific audiences. And when we've done our partnerships, we've looked at it through that lens as well. So while we have channels like Shades of Black, Latino Vibes, XSO VIP, reaching these diverse audiences, we also work with third parties. So Out TV is a partner that we brought in to manage their FAST channel, which is an LGBTQ network. We worked with El Rey, which is Robert Rodriguez's brand, which uses an English language Latino audience, and so we brought them in. There's a few more partnerships that we're working on now to help build that out. So that's been a big part of how we've kind of managed to monetize FAST more effectively, as we take the same selling points that we've done in pay TV and bring them into FAST, and we've been able to move those dollars more effectively. The other piece, I think, is just leaning heavily into programmatic. Programmatic business has been the biggest growth area for us in advertising. Direct sales is still a priority, and it's still a good business for us, and it helps us to maintain premium CPMs in the marketplace. But programmatic is undeniable, and it's becoming more and more of the business, and we've had to get really good at that over the last couple of years, and that's where we're putting a lot of our focus. So the programmatic piece of the business is where we're seeing probably the most investment, and where we're prioritizing, the area of our growth for ad sales going forward is in that programmatic business. And that's a lot. And with programmatic, you need scale. So that's where we built Culture Collective, and we started working with other partners to be their sales agents on their behalf. So Lionsgate being one of those partners, Tastemade, Trusted Media Brands, Heartbeat. Those are all partners in which we sell their ads on behalf of them in the marketplace. That's also a multicultural audience extension, which helps build our overall market positioning with the supply that we need in order to capitalize as much as we can on the programmatic side of the business.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And it sounds like a topic that a lot of people are talking about nowadays, is kind of selling backfill inventory and just essentially just trying to make the best of the inventory that's available. You talked a little bit about like the 7 owned and operated channels and how, fast the market has evolved very much to be mature. There's a lot of churn. You see, channels coming off. It's not just hundreds and hundreds of channels now and taking anything. So can you talk a little bit about the strategy involved on when you guys are thinking about launching a new channel or bringing on a new partner? Sort of what are the things that you're looking for in terms of, is this going to be a successful fast channel if we take it on?
Yeah, I mean, for the first thing is through the lens that I spoke about, which is does this help our multicultural audience at scale story? That's where that kind of narrows things down with who we might be able to work with, and then from there, it's strong IP, strong brands. All of our channels are multi-content channels. We have great relationships with studios to license content that we can spread across those channels. So on programming side, we have a lot of support for how to program these channels. So what we're looking for is a strong brand that hopefully has a library of content that is a good baseline for a channel that we can fill in with studio content and turn into something that feels like a TV network. And that's, there's not too many of those companies, and we're also not interested in going from 7 owned and operated to 77 owned and operated. Like if we take on another one, it's because it fills some void or some white space, which we feel like we need to have in order to continue to build on this Culture Collective story. We do have a couple of those partnerships that we likely will be announcing in the near future, but we're being very cautious about how we grow and how it benefits the business that we have today with our ad sales positioning.
Yeah, that makes sense. And another one of my questions was going to be about this Culture Collective and kind of how did it come about and what has been like the key success factors? I think you touched about them a little bit, but what kind of learnings as well has there been throughout that process?
So Culture Collective kind of sprouted up a little bit organically. We had been selling out our fast channels, and so we had been buying extension inventory, and we were looking for ways to improve our offering and create a little bit more scale and have something that felt more premium than just kind of like this unwashed extension type of inventory that we were buying. And so we approached some of the partners that we were already working with, like Lionsgate, and suggested that we develop an ad sales relationship. And it didn't take a lot of convincing. It was like, hey, we've got a lot of demand. Let's figure out a way to do this together. And then, the other partners kind of followed suit, and we kind of put this group together, and then it became what is now Culture Collective. And now as we're kind of looking at what is the next phase for Culture Collective, scale is the big piece. When we started Culture Collective two plus years ago, direct sales was still like the number one source of ad revenue. Today, it's far and away it's programmatic. Now you can get direct sales through programmatic. Programmatic is just kind of like the transactional method, but programmatic has become the priority. And to capture programmatic dollars effectively, because a lot of it is non-guaranteed, like it's in private marketplaces and things like that, you need a lot of scale. So while we built Culture Collective to 50 something, I think we're at 52 million monthly uniques across the group of channels. So 30 something channels that we sell on behalf of across our partners. We're getting advertisers, or agencies that are kind of like, call us when you have 100 million. They want that kind of scale. They want to have that big buy that they can deliver a lot of impressions quickly. So that's now kind of our goal is how do we maintain our positioning, our unique selling proposition of reaching a multicultural audience, but go from 50 to 100 million. So you'll see over probably the next couple of months as we start to make more announcements with other partners that we're bringing into the Culture Collective, how that starts to take shape. It's been, we've had the benefit of having a lot of partners wanting to work with us. We've just been very cautious and careful about how we build it so that we can, maintain the selling proposition that we have in the marketplace, which has allowed us to be as effective as we have been.
That makes a lot of sense. So the Culture Collective, would you say, is that kind of one of your main areas of focus right now? Maybe in the next 6 to 12 months, looking at your roadmap, is that a big area of focus for you?
Yeah, like at the very top, it's like ad sales is our focus and has been our focus. That's part of our business. It's one leg of that stool is ad sales. And so how do we grow our ad sales? And there's only so much, as you pointed out before, there's hundreds, thousands of fast channels. So we're not going to get to the amount of ad sales that we need by just launching more fast channels. Like we're never going to get that distribution. There's just not enough. I mean, there's no reason to do that. So you got to partner or you got to go and work out other solutions. And that's where Culture Collective has kind of come in and has allowed us to grow in a little bit of a different way, and still be successful in growing our ad sales business. So ad sales is kind of the top goal there. Culture Collective is a strategic priority for how we reach that goal. And our partners have been, very helpful in things like data sharing, collaboration on marketing materials, how we position things, evangelizing in the marketplace themselves. We've been very lucky to have the partners that we launched with, to make this as successful as it's been.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's been a lot of talk recently about YouTube and the creator economy. Do you see this impacting your FAST business or just the FAST business in general? Is this something that you guys have been looking into at all?
Yeah, I would say like talent at the center of a channel, be it like capital C creator or a more traditional talent. That trend's kind of been around for a while, and it works to varying degrees. You ask our partners at Lionsgate, and their 50 Cent action channel is a big performer. That's technically like, what's the difference between that or a Darman necessarily? There's still it's talent at the center of a channel, and how do you build a successful channel around that talent? Now, creators with a capital C are now talking about original programming. That part, I'm kind of like, I'm interested to see how that does, because I think what folks kind of understand about FAST or what has worked traditionally is like the big name IP, stuff that people know, right? Like there's studio movies, series, things that people will stop on a dial to tune into and watch, or they'll turn it on because it's comfort or whatever. New, fresh, original programming doesn't exactly fit that mold. But I do think it's worthwhile seeing what you can do to try to get people to think about FAST as a place for new and original programming. And I think creators have a great point of view and honestly a production model that could make that economically feasible. So we'll kind of see on that. We're pursuing this in a couple of ways. There's a couple opportunities we're looking at with a bigger talent to kind of lend their name and likeness and maybe their content to a channel. We're seeing how that works. Whenever you bring talent in at that level, it gets complicated. So we'll see where these things go, and maybe we'll be part of it, or maybe we'll continue to work with our multi-content brands. I do think that there's also, like, to reverse it, like a lot of these creators coming from YouTube, there is a little bit of a FAST opportunity on YouTube. I've seen some, again, to varying degrees, sending a FAST channel to a YouTube channel, a live feed on your YouTube channel. That's working for some folks as YouTube becomes more and eats more of what we call television, having live networks in the YouTube, not the YouTube TV environment, but the YouTube channel environment seems like a no-brainer. That seems like that could potentially work for some types of content, maybe not all kinds of content. So we're looking at that. We're looking at that too.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think I read some statistic that like almost half of the viewing on YouTube is actually coming from the big screen. So nowadays it's like FAST and YouTube aren't necessary. They're almost, coming together and becoming one thing. So it makes sense to be, looking at both models. And if you do transfer a FAST network, this is the first I've actually considered that, transferring a FAST network into the YouTube space. Cause like you said, it's usually the other way around, but that would be super interesting to see that actually play out.
Yeah, we talked about for years now, we've kind of looked at it and been like, okay, YouTube is taking more and more, share of overall viewing on televisions. I mean, period, full stop, but also on televisions. And so what is if they're the leader, then there's going to be some kind of YouTubeification of every other platform. Like they're going to all try to look and feel like YouTube and do more to try to capture YouTube's business. And you're seeing a lot of these fast platforms that were maybe like fast first, build big VOD catalogs and try to create this movement between the live linear and then bring them into an on-demand type of environment. And you look at YouTube, and that's exactly what that is. I mean, you could have a live feed on a YouTube channel that's just maybe it's a Barker, maybe it's something unique, but maybe it's a Barker, but for all that on-demand content in your YouTube channel. So like it all starts to look kind of similar, and you follow the users' viewing habits and things like that. But we're seeing that these fast platforms are looking more and more like YouTube. And so there's like this business that we're kind of seeing that, it's fast and AVOD kind of coming together in a way that YouTube has done very well. And allows us to build a stronger business when you have a little bit more of that VOD viewing on your assets also.
Yeah. And speaking of AVOD and fast and these platforms, can you talk a little bit about like your marketing strategy? And in terms of, when you do talk to these fast platforms to make sure content discovery recommendation, like how is your content getting surfaced to users? Obviously, when you have a channel guide with hundreds of channels and you have to scroll through it, how are you ensuring that you're getting the viewership? Is there a way that you can ensure that you do that? And by talking to these platforms, is that something that you guys focus on as well?
Yes, we do it to the best that we can. I think anybody in FAST knows that the amount of data that you get is limited. It's often wrong. Our research team could we'd take them out to the bar and they could go on and on about how many times we've had reporting that then is suddenly changed in the dashboard. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess what we've been going on for the last 3 months is incorrect. But it's a little bit of a tangent there. But with the data that we do get and what we do see, yes, we spend a lot of time thinking about what are viewing audiences showing up for, what are they staying for, and how do we improve each of those metrics. So it goes back a lot to traditional pay TV types of mechanics and figuring out how do you stunt things and how do you create editorial calendars with tent poles or marathons or whatever. So you create these types of marketing opportunities, create repeatable marketing opportunities that bring a little bit more habitual viewing to the channel, things that can be marketed on the platform by the platforms that can feel like it's something that's unique. An event, again, going back to original programming does that very well. So that's something that we're definitely looking at. If not original, is it new? Is it exclusive? Are there other ways that we can push that? So that's definitely a piece of it. And I think that the habitual viewing becomes more and more important as more of these platforms start to look at their EPGs and they go, we've got several hundred, sometimes close to 1,000 channels on our EPG. We need to figure out a way to curate this better for our users. And they start to use machine learning or AI tools to show them just the channels that they might be interested in. So when you get into an algorithmic environment like that, you really need to understand your viewers' behaviors so that you can catch them at the right times and bring them in so that you become one of those recommended channels. So I think that's going to take probably more of a front seat going forward. It's like understanding your audience. Again, like YouTube's been algorithmically driven forever. How do you know when to schedule things, when to program things, how to stunt things, how to get your audience in there? Because the more that they watch, the more you'll be recommended, the more you'll reach these, more curated sections of these EPGs as they become more sophisticated in curating it for the individual user.
That makes sense. So in terms of the FAST and AVOD space and all of this, are you guys focused on trying to keep users inside that space? Is there an opportunity to upsell them to get them into your SVOD service? Or are you okay kind of keeping them separate or even getting them onto the traditional pay TV? Kind of how do you balance, you have different verticals and audiences for each of those?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, we look at it as far as need states go, right? There's someone that's turning something on because they just want to watch something. They don't want to pay for something. They're just watching this content, and maybe they're stumbling upon your channel. There's a lot of um, there's definitely different need states between a subscription service and a fast service. We're kind of following the platform's leads as far as how they continue to integrate their free live environments or their free fast environments, AVOD included, with their premium SVOD environments. So there's some experimentation of like, sampling in a fast environment, driving to a premium environment where you can, doing that, how you do that with what platforms depends on that platform's sophistication, how much they're investing in trying to make that connection. There's only so much you can do before you kind of need the UI and the technology within the platform to be able to help smoothen that, or like streamline that transaction, and getting people into those environments. But we're definitely doing that. And some of the deals we're doing for our content on SVOD is allowing us like front of wall rights where we can place it on a fast channel. And we may show a couple episodes and say, for the rest, come over to Fuse Plus and check this out. So it's still very early, I think, with that. But one of our partners, Out TV, is thinking about that long term because they have a very successful subscription business and they've distributed that now in the US. And they're looking at their fast channel both as a standalone product and something that people can enjoy, but also as a way to market their subscription service. And so I think there's more and more of that's happening. I think a lot of it is just like you're kind of like at the you have to kind of rely on the platforms to help facilitate that for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's seemingly come full circle because I remember the very, very early days of fast, before fast was even a term. A lot of it was teasing content, putting it in front of the paywall to then get you into a premium version. So it's interesting to kind of discuss how people are doing that, now, and talking about it being early days. To kind of wrap up this whole discussion, looking ahead, are there any strategic plans of focus for Fuse? I know you mentioned a few of them throughout this conversation. Is there anything that you guys particularly looking ahead are really, really, focusing in on?
Growing the ad sales business, for sure. And we're continuing to invest in ad sales and our programmatic tech stack in order to help facilitate that. That's a big priority. I do think there's something to the capital C creator economy, whatever you want to call it. Just working with talent and figuring out a way to find production models that can be married to a business model that can see a new growth in original programming, because I think we've had there's been kind of a drag on new original programming from top to bottom, and there does feel like there's an interesting path to working with individuals or media teams that are centered around individuals to make stuff that can work across windows and become a profitable business again. So we're looking at that. We have a partnership that we're announcing soon with an individual that's got a library of content, wants to make more stuff. We've got distribution. So we'll see where that goes, and we're excited about that. Can we replicate that? We'll see. We're treating it just like we have with our fast business. It's like we're going to be very selective and curated to make sure that whoever we work with, we can invest and make something that is mutually beneficial. So I think that's another area that we're excited about. And on the SVOD side, I mean, bundling is like our big strategic priority. We are very focused on figuring out what is the next version of the bundle. As the cable business, like unbundled to all create these direct to consumer apps, then they went into these reseller environments. Now these resellers, these distributors, Amazon, Roku, some of the MVPDs, now they're talking about rebundling. Like, how do you take these, what were unbundled services, rebundle them in a streaming environment? And because we come from a business that is from bundling, and we understand just how great of a business that is for both programmers and consumers, how do we figure out what that streaming bundle looks like? And how do we make it so that it's sustainable for both the programmers and the distributors long term? So that was something we're very focused on.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a lot of different exciting ideas between the ad sales, FAST, AVOD, partnering with creators, a new partnership, and SVOD as well, bundling. So I'm looking forward to hearing how everything goes. So Patrick, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate the time today.
Thanks, Peyton. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Inside Content, the TV industry podcast brought to you by 3Vision. With decades of TV industry experience and real-world success, we know the ins and outs of the market like nobody else. To learn more about our TV consultancy services, head to 3vision.tv.